Well, if your nursing expenses are increasing by 15%, but only make up 10% of your total costs, then you are asking me to cover a lot more than just nursing costs. A 15% increase across the board would be much more revenue than just the increase in your nursing costs. I don't see how that is fair. Doesn't matter if it is fair. We just want a 15% increase. Right, but I can't propose 15% unless there is a logical reason. He was rattled. Do you mind if you give me and my colleagues here a couple of minutes? We'd appreciate it. Sure, take your time. We'll just wait outside the conference room until you are ready. They all looked a little sheepish and shaken. 5 minutes stretched to 20 minutes, but finally our team was called back into the conference room by the administrator. He looked a bit hangdogged with his tail between his legs. We had a long conversation and came to a decision. His tone had changed significantly. He was almost contrite. We want to come clean and start over again if you will let us. Sure, Bill, not a problem. I am sure we can work something out, I replied. It's always a good idea to let a negotiator save face when they are eating crow. So here is our proposal. We really need to increase your payments to us on some of the really expensive procedures. Our costs on trauma, NICU, neonatal intensive care unit, and sepsis cases are killing us. Can you help us out there? I think we can, but if you don't mind, let's look at some areas we might be able to reduce our costs while making you whole on the expensive patient reimbursement, I said. Sounds great. Let's dig into the numbers. From then on, the negotiation became more of a discussion than a disagreement. We were able to reach a deal. It wasn't a perfect deal, but a deal. First offer strategy. Before we go on, there is one more crucial point of differentiation between my negotiation method and others. Many, in fact, most negotiation books, seminars, and philosophies separate the skill of negotiating from the skill of selling. They are treated as distinct and separate subjects. This may be because there are certain negotiations like nuclear arms talks, labor relations, and so on that may not overtly use the term selling. In a sales situation, however, selling and negotiation are inseparable. They are critically dependent upon each other, and the outcome of one depends on how good you are at the other. You cannot treat them as separate subjects. The explanation of this concept is as simple as it is critical. In any negotiation, there are only two ways to narrow the gap between the low price a buyer wants to pay and the higher price a seller wants to charge. Either you convince the buyer that the value of your product or service offsets the difference in price, selling, or you trade concessions until you reach a mutually agreeable or disagreeable compromise, negotiating. One very good indicator of whether a salesperson typically sells on price and not value is how early he or she puts a price on the table. Once a price is on the table, most negotiations become about how much or how little the customer will end up paying. A more skilled salesperson will often ignore requests for price quotes until he or she has established enough value to justify his or her company's price. Salespeople who reach more successful outcomes are good at selling and negotiating. Salespeople who sell on